Welcome to the Rambling Man podcast. This is episode 15. I am here with my friend Jesse.
Yes, back again.
We have been doing some talks on Thursdays, just getting coffee, and I figured, a lot of times I leave the conversation and I think to myself, like, this was such a good conversation. This should be recorded for all the world to see, because this is how conversation should be with most people.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know about that one, but we do have good conversations, and I definitely enjoy our Thursday coffees together.
So before we started the podcast, we were talking about, I mentioned that the Louisville brought an indictment against one of the police, and I told you that I thought that last night that it's gonna get crazy. 2 officers were injured, or a cop was shot, something already. I haven't looked at the news. But what I was gonna tell you is I was talking with somebody last night who texted me, and they were just basically like, can we agree that, police need to be reformed and, there needs to be more training and all this stuff. And I said, yeah, there is a weird line though where in reality the Derek Chauvin case and in the Breanna Taylor case with these other cops, the no-knock warrant, by law they may not actually be obligated to be in trouble. Reason being, in Derek Chauvin's case, the way that he restrained George Floyd was protocol in the Minneapolis manual, which means that technically he didn't do anything wrong. What I told my friend was, though, did he lack civility to make sure that the person was okay? Yes. But in terms of everything else, he was doing everything that he was supposed to do. Okay? Same thing with the Breanna Taylor case. People are mad because this cop was indicted on charges of endangering people that were rounds that hit neighbors' houses and stuff. That's what he was indicted on.
Yeah, the guy who's indicted, so from my understanding, the guy who was indicted, he was outside and just shot in, from what my understanding is. And that's where he got the wanton endangerment, or wanton something of another. So that's my understanding of the situation. The cop who actually shot him, the round that was found in Breanna Taylor, actually had no charge from my reading of what's happened. But yeah, that's pretty crazy that all that's happened. How Louisville had to have the state of emergency declared before they came out and said, hey, we're charging them with this, and we're going to let the others go, no charge. Being under law, back to your point about being within the laws and stuff, but understand that civility within laws, or having restraint to know when, like, hey, things are in control, situations are in control, and also, like, understanding the whole picture and seeing where the whole picture is. I think that as media comes out, I feel like we do not get the whole story, and there's sides to that story portrayed on, like, either side, right? Whether you're listening to more conservative leaning, central leaning, left leaning news site, what you're having shown, vantage points, and then also, like, opinions and emotions put behind those words in those articles or in those segments are kind of portraying people's thoughts on this stuff too, preconceived notions before they understand the whole picture, right? So it's pretty crazy. I think that no knock warrants are bad. I think that those are a bad thing to start off with because again, from my understanding, the boyfriend of Breanna Taylor had a gun, and I'm a gun wielding citizen, and if somebody breaks into my house, or if I get
you
the
have the right to
notification,
defend your house,
yeah,
especially if you don't know who it is.
If I don't know who it is, it's a no knock raid. You don't announce yourself. If I don't have Ring or any security system that tells me, hey, this is actually police. How do I assume the position and get ready for them to enter my house? That's a sad thought too. Like, why should I be worried in my own house, especially if I have not done anything wrong? Like, they can't take the 5 seconds to be like, oh, it's apartment 6, not 5 or something. I don't know the apartment number. I don't know any of that. But like, hey, double check your work. Get the person coming out of the house. I think there's different ways to handle stuff instead of no knock raids. I know that they want into the house probably to catch them either in an act or catch them with substance or catch them however they're trying to catch them. So I think all that stuff is just it's really odd, and it could be within the law, and I don't think some of those laws have regular citizens who are law-abiding citizens and everything, or have nothing to fear, I guess, in mind. So like that comes down, I feel like that's like a control state almost,
Well, in this particular case, this is not to defend the police, because a disclaimer, I am not in support of no-knock warrants or anything like that. I just like to think about things in a way that's unbiased to what my feelings may be. Because in reality, I am not a person who believes in the death penalty in general. Okay? I do believe in consequence, though. So I think people losing their lives innocently, even if they did the most heinous crime, I don't think they should lose their life. So with that being said, someone losing their life is never something that I think is okay.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Everybody is allowed to live, at least, is my belief. So in George Floyd's case and Breanna Taylor, it's tragic. It's sad. But there's more to the story than just, the cop killed them. Now, if it's right or wrong, Derek Chauvin's case, I don't think it was race-driven. There's no proof that he actually hated black people or anything like that. I think more or less it's been stated that they knew each other some way, somehow, or whatever. But in Breanna Taylor's case, that is more of a crime in itself based on politics. And what I told this person that I talked to last night, is the issue comes with politics. The politic game has taken over too many of the institutions of our lives, right? And like you said, no-knock warrants serve the purpose of catching people with trafficking. From what I believe, that's what it's for, right? It's drug traffickers. The thing is, that is a crime that's not worth pursuing, in my opinion. People have different opinions. I'm very progressive in the idea that, drugs should be legal. Not everybody agrees with that, but I think that we have bigger issues than to worry about people that are traffickers. And so much so that stuff like Breanna Taylor's case is a good example of what's the risk versus reward, right?
Yeah.
But like you said, it has to do with control, right? The politic game is we need to eradicate substances and the war on drugs, so much so that we're going to step over our boundaries and what we're allowed to do. And then people condone that. People in the police force, there's a lot of politics involved in police as well when it comes to, I believe that there should be more funding and training for police because that's a real solution. I think the standard of policing should be higher. You shouldn't be able to be just a regular Joe Schmo that becomes a cop. If the standard is high and rigorous training, you're going to weed out people that are not capable of upholding that. But with that being said, if there is more funding police, you need to make sure that it's not mismanaged the same way in government. The government's taking all these tax dollars, but they mismanage money all the time. We spend all this money on war that is a conflated idea that we're fighting people that are going to take our livelihood, when that's actually not the truth.
We're fighting for our freedom constantly.
Yeah, ISIS isn't going to come to the U.S. and overthrow our government. That's just not reality. And we spend so much money on being involved in whatever wars or whatever in the Middle East or whatever country we deem a threat. That's a mismanagement of money. But the same thing happens on a small scale in local government and the police force. You have people that get a little too much power. They have this money. They could see how they want it to be spent, and they mismanage the money. So I think on a grander scale, we're talking about, there's a lack of accountability for the people that are in powerful positions. And I think it's a testament to like what's been going on in our government, federally as well. Is like how you have all these people that are supposed to represent us, but you have Sleepy Joe and Speed Trump duking it out, and they're not really the most accurate representations of the vast majority of the population. Yet these are the two options we're stuck with, because it's all a political game.
Yeah, I think I think that if there's probably one thing I'm going to say during this cast that we're doing is to register to vote. Everybody needs to register to vote. I know yesterday was National Voter Registration Day. I don't know when the deadline is for every state, but register to vote, and regardless who you want to vote for, do not write in a name, and do not vote third party when it comes to the presidential election, federal election. If you do, I think you're automatically, that's where it gets wishy-washy. I think you automatically vote for Trump if you write in a name, mainly because he's incumbent, the incumbent presidency. Also, I think, if you're unhappy with Trump, but you're unhappy with Biden, and you want more of a progressive candidate than Biden, you have to understand that to get to that progressive candidate, there's a road, and Biden is that road. Like Obama was the road there.
If you hate white people, and if you hate unborn babies, vote for Biden.
Oh,
that's a joke. That's a joke.
Yeah, I got you. I've heard it. That's like people actually posting it. So whatever.
To piggyback on what he's saying, register to vote. A lot of people want to talk a lot of shit. Okay, if you want to make a change, vote. This isn't a baseless charge to get people to vote, because I see a lot of people encouraging voting, but I feel like it's a misguided idea to get people to vote because they hate Trump. And I'm not a believer in that. I'm a believer that you should vote, because if you want your people say my vote doesn't count. I think more than ever your vote does matter, because if you are voting, especially on a local level, people want to focus on the president.
Yeah, local.
Listen, no one gives a shit about who's the president. Let's act like we don't have news. What affects you the most? Local. Because your taxes are affected, where they're going to build stuff. Look, where I live, they built this big fucking stadium that I hate. I drive by it all the time and I hate it.
Why do we need it?
It costs millions of dollars.
$7 million.
When you could have paid teachers more or invested it in something else, yet they built another stadium when they already have one.
Mm-hmm.
It's just my opinion. So if I don't want that to happen, I need to be involved in local government, for one. And two, I need to vote people that are going to represent my ideas. And that's going to have a direct result for me, generally speaking. Now, as you affect your local government, it bleeds to higher. So as you start to make an effect locally, it starts to make an effect elsewhere. So for those of you that think your vote doesn't matter, you're wrong. You need to get educated on who's local, who's representing your state, who's running for the House of Representatives, who's running for the Senate, who's running for, councilman and the mayor and all that stuff.
Down to sheriff.
Everything down matters.
This is gonna be my first year to vote, by the way. I'll just let that known. I've never voted before, but I feel like I feel that I'm educated enough, whether I am or not. I've been doing my research on people running. I don't believe in voting straight ticket. I want people, again, who match my values for the most part. Not everybody aligns 100%, but if I see a candidate, Republican, Democrat, in the local area, third party, independent, whatever, and they match my values, I'll most likely vote for them. When it gets to state and federal stuff, instead of local, that's where it really gets into the two-party system, especially the president. And if you do not cast within that two-party system in America, you are essentially not voting. You have, I think that's a thing people need to understand, is that we're a two-party system here in America, whether you like it or not. You have a Democrat, you have a Republican. You need to vote Democrat or Republican when it comes to the president to actually have your vote count. Third party doesn't really work here in America.
Well, and that's the thing, Articles of Unity is something that's interesting to me. If you don't know what it is, you can look it up. It's basically they want to take the two parties and then just take one person from each side that is a center left, center right, and then represent, the vast majority of Americans, which would be the case. I think it's a great idea. I think it could work. The hardest part is going to be getting into, especially that presidential role. I think for them, what would be the smartest route for them to do as they build to get enough traction, especially for the next election, is that they start breaking in some people that are part of that third party or the Articles of Unity group into smaller roles. That way, it'll be easier for them to vertically integrate. Mm-hmm. So once they have people that represent with, we're just patriots that want to do what's right. We don't want to we are Republican or Democrat, but we don't want to be aligned with the duopoly, the conglomerates of the political system. We represent true patriotism. Then you can start, working your way up. And I think that would be a smarter route for them.
Yeah, I think that would be good. I think the issue with a lot of stuff in our society at the moment is money, and maybe it's a direct reflection of the capitalistic nature of America and wanting to have constant growth. I think that's a horrible mind to have, where you have to have a certain amount of growth each year. Yes, you want to show growth to shareholders, but when you have to cut things to show that growth, to make that profit, I think that's where you're getting, that's a whole different subject, but I think it's an unhealthy mindset, I think. And what's happening on the political side is I think there's so much money involved with the DNC and the RNC, that it's hard for a third party or anything to break in if they don't have that money or funding. And how do you wreck that? Do you say, could you look at Michael Bloomberg and be like, bro, you just dropped $100 million on Biden. Why don't we, start fundraising and making money to create another party who has all the avenues of politics stuff, like where you can see voter registration, where you can reach out all this grassroots stuff, but actually fund it and get bigger than the RNC and DNC. I think that's what's going to have to happen to create a new party in the thing in our system. It's money. The parties, as much as we want to fantasize about how money doesn't matter, or how people don't want to fantasize how money shouldn't matter or doesn't matter in something like this, I think that you have to understand that is what is keeping everything down. Is the RNC and the DNC is such a big political movement in America that they can stifle other political growth parties, and you're not going to have that big name come up.
Well, like I told you before, I think money is definitely an issue, right? Because it rules everything. But like I said before, I think what happens is people are not as reliable as they think, right? I think sometimes people have this idea, I'm going to go into the Democratic Party, I'm going to get elected, I'm going to change everything. But humans are so easily distracted that they think that they're the person. But then when they are under that pressure, they get distracted by other shit.
Oh, that lobbying money is that's huge.
It's the easiest way to distract people.
Yeah.
But I think that's one thing that people fail to realize, that we're just humans, right? And a lot of times people are focused and are driven to actually, cause a change or make changes. But I think the vast majority of people, they're good-hearted and they have the right mindset, and they might be, they might truly believe they're doing good, but then they get distracted. But before, I do want to say this. Would you say you're more of a left?
I've been saying that I'm a conservative liberal for a little while. I would say I lean more left than right, I guess.
I don't know what I would be, but let's just agree. Okay, people want to say Democrat, pro-life, pro-choice, whatever the fuck. There's one ultimate reality. They both want war. That's all they care about.
Well, I think that, again, there's money in there. There's
the military-industrial complex rules both parties.
Yeah, I think the military-industrial complex is huge. I think, if you preach or you talk against that, you're gonna have veterans come out, or people that are in the
thing is that veterans always defend war, because the thing is, you can never discount someone who has seen true violence in war as they have. Because, it's like the perception is reality, right? We're so far from war that we don't believe it's something we need. And that might be the truth. But if you're someone who's on the front lines, you see that people are trying to kill you, and they hate you. Death to America, whatever. Their perception is that these people are a threat because they're trying to take my life. Right?
Right.
So to them, it is a real threat.
Yeah, they're placed there, so...
Yeah, so their reality is different than ours.
They signed up... you sign up for a job, you're sent to do a job, you do your job, and that's you're putting yourself, I feel in that danger, but that is an avenue to better your life as well. So some people need that to go to college, they need to get out from where they are, and I think it's a good thing. And I think, we were talking about conscription, right? You need to serve, if America started conscripting at the age of 18 or whatever, you had to do 4 years of service before you're 26 or some crazy thing like that, right? Not so crazy, other countries do it. Then I guess being a veteran wouldn't be a big deal or anything, but at the same time, everybody, we could have we were saying like you could have healthcare based off that,
Mhm.
right? Like you
Education.
served education, so you served, you gave your time. Guess what? Now you get education. Now you get healthcare. Kind of how it is now, but everybody has to do it. Maybe you're able to opt out of it somehow, and you don't get that. You don't get that opportunity. You have to now pay for education. You now have to pay for healthcare. I think that would be a thing. I didn't serve. I got a bunch of friends and family that served, so I can't speak on a
Salute
lot
to
of
all
that
the
stuff.
veterans. I'm not a hater on veterans. I got respect for all first responders and veterans. People that hate on them just are ignorant to what they have to put up with. So people who hate cops don't understand what they have to deal with. Same thing with veterans. This is the honest truth. In hindsight, maybe I should have served in the military in some form or fashion. But honestly, from a young
You
age,
still can, son. You still can.
I still could. But from a young age, I had a lot of conspiracies floating in my mind and stuff. So I had a morality conflict for myself that I didn't feel okay with laying my life on the line for a country that I felt like didn't really represent what I thought was correct, like the war in the Middle East and stuff like that. I still kind of have those feelings, but I think though that the military, like, it takes a special person to, enlist and sacrifice your life, which is why, in a sense, I understand the kind of pride that veterans have, and they have this representation that, we have to protect our freedom. Because it's the same thing as, like, it's not the same, but it's the same concept of someone who's young who hates oil. They become an engineer, though. They get a job in oil. Guess what? They're not hating oil. Why? Because they're benefiting from oil.
They're benefiting, yeah.
Right? Now they're making a nice paycheck. It's the same thing with the military. You have a sense of pride that you earn from being a veteran. You saw combat. You have this. It's like a different.
You get that sense of unity. It's
Yeah.
like being a part of a group, like not a gang. Like you can't. Maybe you say gang. I don't know. Like you're part of a group, right? And that group, you sweat, blood, tears. The camaraderie you get out of that stuff is like, it's no other thing. And that's being an athlete and doing athletics, being a part of a team. I missed that when I stopped swimming and I graduated, and that community is like really nice, and I think that's why I got into CrossFit again, and it's just really nice to share an experience with somebody where you're pushing yourself beyond your limits, and those the service members doing that, they're pushing themselves beyond their limits, beyond everybody, beyond other limits too. So that's pretty great. That's a tangent. I don't know where I was going with that. So sorry about that. My mind just like. But yeah, I think the war machine turns war on drugs. It's horrible. We lost that. Somebody needs to admit it. I'll admit it first. America, you lost the war on drugs. Sucks. Mid defeat. Pull out. Stop it. Didn't work with alcohol. Not gonna work with anything else.
Surrender.
Surrender to
Just let it take you over.
Let the drugs wash over you. No, don't do that. Don't do that. Moderation. But I think, I think that going back to I think the capitalist idea of how you should have everything run as a business, and I think that's how our government is starting to run more of their public stuff as a business, and trying to find ways to have overage or produce a gain. And I don't think public service should have produced gain or overage. I think like it should be almost null or a little bit of deficit. But I think that there is like wild spending, like the $7.5 million stadium that was only supposed to be $5 million sitting on, and then it did nothing during What did that do for, what
It
does that do?
it was a testing site, bro.
Yeah, it's a testing site. So what, and what you have football. Does soccer play there? I don't know. They do. Nice. So you have like football and soccer play there.
The thing is, you're gonna pay for this giant ass stadium for these kids to play their last high school football game, where 90% of them aren't gonna play college or even play pro. So what's the point? I understand sports are important.
Nice. It looks nice, maybe.
It's
a flex.
I don't care. Like, I love sports, and I think sports help people develop. But why does it have to be that glamorous? Like, why do you have to spend all this money on it? It's like the same thing as like that's what Katie has become. They could pay teachers more. They could have the best education system in the country, but they pump a lot of their money into sports.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Because that's how they get their money.
Extracurriculars too. I know bands coming up. They do band contests there. I mean, yeah. I live like right by it, and Jesus, dude, hearing those horns and drums at some time in the morning till sometime at night's kind of crazy.
Yeah.
But that's cool. I mean, I enjoy that stuff, so it doesn't bother me.
You can do that in the field. What's the problem?
Yeah. High school, like Katy High has a giant
Katy
field.
Junior High.
Like they have like 4 football fields like right on the school, but it doesn't have the nice lights. It doesn't have those box seats. It doesn't have the capacity. I've never seen those stands filled up, by the way. Like, I don't know why you have to have all those.
I have a question for you.
Stands.
How do you feel about bullying?
Okay, bullying. I think bullying is a natural thing. I think it's a natural thing. I was bullied growing up, and I don't think there was I had my resentments, moved past them. Do I bring it up every now and then? Yeah, I bring it up every now and then. But, I've made my peace. That's just how it was. I was a weird kid. We were talking about weird kids doing weird shit. I was a weird kid. I wore purple pants and a green Gumby shirt, and Vans. That's like one of my. I wore it probably like 3 days in a row because did I change clothes? No. Did I smell like chlorine all the time? Yeah, I was swimming. So, but I was a weird kid. So maybe I deserved bullying. I didn't fit in the norm. I was also small. Very skinny. I was like 5'1", 5'2" when I entered high school, and maybe 100 pounds. Maybe. I was very skinny. Dude. Yeah, dude. I was fucking skinny, bro.
Bag of bones.
Yeah, dude. I was like 5'10" when I graduated. 5'10", 5'11", and I only weighed 140. So I was like.
Listen, from 8th grade, I probably wasn't as tall as I am now. But I was probably like 5'10", and I've weighed over 200 since I was in 8th grade.
Yeah.
All through high school.
Jesus. No. I couldn't gain weight. If I don't work out, I haven't worked out in probably like 2 days, and if I don't work out today, I'm probably going to lose if I get on the scale, I have like a 5-pound deficit. I just lose weight. I just get skinny. I don't understand it. That's my genetics. But I believe bullying is kind of like a natural thing. And I think I like the way kids are growing up now. They're more accepting. But you listen to kids, especially girls, dude. Girls will talk some shit. Yeah. They will talk some shit.
Don't make me say it. I'm going to say it. Okay? The non-bullying has made us weak.
Oh, okay.
I just think, my opinion on this, it's a rite of passage. I think that we've taken some responsibility away from the adults to actually be adults and help, intervene or help people, Let's put it this way. If you were bullied and everybody was in martial arts, there would be no craziness except the outliers who are genuinely mentally impaired, have mental issues.
Everybody's going to pick on somebody for differences.
Exactly.
There's going to be differences.
But I think some kind of martial art or some kind of leveling playing field would make it where you could stand up for yourself.
Yeah.
And then there would be a mutual respect because then they know. That's the whole thing about a bully. A bully picks on you because they think that you're an easy target and you're not going to do anything in response.
Yeah.
When you buck up, it's like, oh, okay.
And they want that, and they I feel like they also want that, like, either the power over the person or just to get somebody to feel a certain way, you know? Because there's people out there that are like, you know, I try to compliment everybody, and like, hey, you're looking good today, or something like that. And you know, there's people out there that'll compliment, but then there's also people out there. I do make fun of people too. I make fun of kids a whole lot. Like I coach swimming, right? I coach kids, and that's what I do. I just make fun of them because I think it's funny. And you know, then you're like, you know, hey, you're doing good. Like if a guy gets his haircut, you know, I'll just make like stupid jokes like, hey man, you get a haircut? And they're like, yeah, I got a haircut. Well, your ears look big today. You know, yeah, I can tell because your ears look big. You know, and they're just like, oh, yeah. But I think also bullying helps self-confidence, and that's a as long as there's that overcoming of the bully. Like, yeah, they picked on me for this, but I realize that I'm okay with myself, right?
And we talked about that earlier. Is like, because in middle school, listen, I still like metal. If I wanted to wear skinny jeans, I would. The problem is no matter what jeans I wear, they're all skinny jeans now. Because before I didn't really work out. Now that I work out, my legs are much larger.
You got that man ass, bro.
Dude, every jeans I wear are like skinny jeans. Oh, but I still wear band tees. I still like bands and stuff. In middle school, I was an emo or metalhead, whatever. I wore Vans, skinny jeans, band tee. I had long hair. It was like down to here. And people made fun of me for it. But it's like you're saying, the thing is like you have to have an adult who can teach these kids, whether it's a parent, a family member, a teacher, whatever. What it comes down to is you have a choice. It's just like in life. You have a choice to choose to be broken down by someone bullying you or be okay with who you are. Mm-hmm. Because if you obviously pick to wear that for a certain reason, right? Or to be the person you are for a certain reason.
Yeah. In
hindsight, you might realize, oh, that was a bad choice. You know, I was immature, whatever. But in that moment, you have it's building your character to accept yourself and be okay that there's gonna be people that don't like you. There's gonna be people that make fun of you. There's gonna be people that don't agree with you. But I'm okay with myself.
My wife makes fun of me every day. I still think she's my bully. She just rips on me every day. Sometimes I cry going to sleep at night because of her. But yeah, no, I agree with you on that. It's you have to be comfortable with yourself. I think also, you know, there is wanting to fit in, right? Finding your group, and sometimes when you're in a location, like that group doesn't exist, right? And that's a crazy thing. Like, let's say there's like you're emo punk or whatever, and everybody else is country. You know, you live in BFE, and
now you're wearing boots.
But you still wear like God Save the Queen, Sex Pistols shirts, and everybody's like, man, that's a weird sound you got there, but you know, all right, you know, and it's like, okay, cool. But and then you're Billy Strings, and you're jamming out bluegrass as fast as you can and ripping a guitar, right?
He likes metal.
Yeah. Okay.
I think I saw him wearing a shirt that was like some metal band. I was like, dang, Billy Strings has some good music taste.
Billy Strings is awesome. So Billy Strings, check him out. If you listen ever, Billy Strings, hey, cool. But yeah, bullying is, I think, like nowadays, you know, you have a lot of acceptance, and I think that being preached is really nice. But there are still like bullies. I think the zero tolerance policy on fighting and stuff gets more kids in trouble than it should. And I think when like you fight, like when you fight back, you shouldn't be in trouble. And I understand from like insurance is another horrible thing in America where you have to like playgrounds are non-existent. They don't have ropes and stuff in school and stuff. So
this is a little bit. This is like goes back to what I said. It's about being weak. We're getting out of touch with reality here. That we live in this world where you'll never be hurt. Your feelings will never be hurt. You never have to work hard. You're just gonna get what you deserve, which is everything.
That's wrong.
And I
I
believe that nature is the way it should be. Now, we do have this technology side. I have mixed feelings. I love technology. I love science and math and learning about it. But at the same side, I think that it also makes us out of touch with reality. It's like the, veganism and vegetarian. Like, I really don't give a fuck what people do. You can eat whatever you want. Like, it doesn't bother me as long as you don't tell me that I'm, evil for eating meat. Like, I don't care.
Do you believe in vegan athletes? That don't have to take supplements.
I think that it is a genetic thing. It's just like nutrition. It varies from person to person. Some people have genetics that allows them to do that. Some people don't. I think it just depends. It's kind of like, anybody that says that vegan's good for everybody, that's fucking false. Because your ancestors ate a certain thing that affects the way that your genetics are now. So that's a big factor that people tend to neglect. So I don't care what you eat. As long as it's like the same thing. Like I don't care about LGBTQ. Like whatever the fuck. As long as you're not hurting anybody, I'm not going to accept the maps and pedophiles as part of that because we won't even go down that.
What's maps?
Minor attracted person or something like that.
Oh no.
Pedos have rebranded themselves as maps. It's a friendly term that they use now.
Yeah. No, I think.
My point is that I don't care what people do. People are entitled. If you want to be trans, whatever. But once you start to, attack me or force me to live my life a different way, is when I have a problem with it.
Yeah.
So, and the thing is, what my point is with this is that in nature, there's none of this bullshit. A bear is a bear, and I'm a human. I have to survive, or whatever animal you want to fill in the blank with. And sometimes, I'm gonna fucking fight the bear or whatever, or I get hurt. What am I going to do? Say, this is unfair that life's like that? No. If I want to live, I have to survive. Mm-hmm. And I think that we have gotten a little out of touch with that. I think fighting is normal. I think, especially with males, it's a, instinct to, not that, relying on that, primal instinct is always the best thing. That's why I think that's what makes humans humans. We have the social part of our brain and how we don't always have to rely on the primal side, but I think it's important. Fighting is okay, but there should be rules to fighting. If someone gets knocked out or blood is drawn, it should be done. But other than that, I think it's perfectly okay. Why isn't it okay that two kids scrap it out? My opinion is that both kids are going to find out something about that fight.
Yeah.
They're going to leave the fight okay, I need to know how to fight, or, the bully might get beat up and think, well, shit, maybe I shouldn't bully this kid.
Yeah. Well, I think also, too, most bullying is done in a group. So, the kids would gang up on one kid, right? There's, 3 or 4 kids that would gang up on me, necessarily, and, call names. I don't know if we ever...
I'm a teacher. I mean, we have the parents agreed, corporal punishment and all that stuff is good. Okay. Jimmy, you were bullying John? All right. Glove up. Let's go.
That's how they used to do it, dude. So... Maybe I don't like reflecting on the good old days, but I feel like that's something that needs that. We did that in ROTC. If there was beef, we had. I hope Coach Mac, you're already retired. I think you're already retired. You don't get in trouble, but we had pads and we'd run at each other as hard as we can, and we'd squash beef that way.
I mean, in reality, that's how football is.
Yeah.
If people had beef, you would just do Oklahoma drill or something. Like if you would call somebody out or whatever, and then it's basically like fighting. You're physically contacting the person. One person is gonna get laid out, and then you're like, okay, that's that. And ultimately, I think whenever you have some kind of physical altercation that's consented and you both agree, and like someone loses and one wins, when you leave that, it's the same thing as like fighting. Most of the time when fights end, there's a mutual respect.
Yeah.
Because it's like, you were man enough to step to me. I was man enough to step to you. This is something we could walk away from and be like, like now we have respect for each other.
Yeah, it's a resolution.
Yeah.
Resolution, right? So you have to. I think the resolution is a good thing in life. On that, you don't want to leave it hanging, right? Yeah, going back to having the coach in ROTC, and we'd pad up and run at each other.
It's pretty awesome, actually.
It's pretty cool. What else did we have? We had it was like block pads, so like you were holding it here and you can hit people like that with it. But that's what we did. If we had beef with somebody, we called them out and we ran at it. I remember getting my ass. I'm trying to remember the guy's name, but we were friends, and I was like, I'm gonna go against you again. I was like 76 pounds. This kid was probably 150 pounds. He threw my ass across the gym. We ran, and he's like, "Are you sure?" I was like, "Let's do it, dude." Bah! I bounced right off of him. So, I think that resolution is a much needed thing in our society that kids don't get, and I think it's not an equalizer, but there's something to it where like there's a buildup of tension, and that resolution has to happen, right? Or if they're put to work and they have to work as a team, but it's like just physical stuff. They have to move a log.
Yeah.
Something that will bond them together. I think that physical release of tension.
Well, that's what unites people in like military and stuff like that,
Yeah.
training. But with that, I forgot what I was gonna say. I literally had it. This is just a soup of thoughts, really. Like, we're just talking. In reality, that might not be something that's feasible. Letting people fight and stuff like that.
Hey, they can do it in that Legacy Stadium, dude. I bet you can fill that thing up, gladiator style, 16 kids.
But the reality is, if you're a parent, right, or going to be a parent in the future, or you're a young person, and you're getting bullied, or your kid's getting bullied, or that your kid's gonna be bullied, right? Because it's just the way of life. Put your kid in a martial art. And something that's going to not taekwondo, because that's not really going to help anybody fight, right? But something like jiu-jitsu or kickboxing, where they can actually defend themselves. Not only would it apply later in life, so that you would never have to worry about them being able to handle themselves if someone tried to attack them or kidnap them or whatever, they could defend themselves. But also, if a bully attacks them, for one, they'll have... they would only use it if they absolutely needed to, because that's how martial arts is. You're not going to inflict pain on somebody just because you can. And they would be humble because it's hard. But they could defend themselves. Then they would have the confidence in themselves to be able to defend themselves or defend their honor, or even defend somebody else, because that's the other thing. If your kid, like, that's one thing that I hope for my daughter is I'm going to put her in jiu-jitsu when she's of age. She knows how to defend herself. I would hope that, people wouldn't mess with her to begin with, but that she would step up and defend somebody who is being picked on.
Yeah, that's another thing. Nobody, you don't have people. I think that's something else that needs to be taught is like, if somebody sees wrong, or if somebody sees that it doesn't fit within what they believe, like, hey, step up and say something.
Yeah.
Not to the extent where it's like White Knight or something like that, where like you step in and you're trying to save the girl and you don't even know what's happening. But like, be like, hey guys, let's calm down. Let's take a step back. Like, hey, it doesn't need to, you you shouldn't talk to this person this way, something like that, right? I think that's something that needs to be taught, and it's a weird feeling when you first stand up for yourself, or you stand up for somebody else, or you go against what somebody else says. It is a weird feeling, and I think so. I think there's a lot of bullying, and not necessarily, it might not be bullying, but a lot of when you get into a certain, like, social media is a horrible thing, and to show this, because there's keyboard warriors where you're gonna have people bully you or tell you you're wrong. If I've told you you're wrong on Facebook or any social media platform, I will gladly sit down and tell you and show you, like, why you're wrong.
Well, this is another topic. There's a lot of people on social media who will talk a lot of shit, and they'll come at you crazy.
YouTubers, no.
But if you saw me in person, your mouth would be fucking shut.
Possibly. I talk shit to this guy all the time.
But for the most part, all these people feel emboldened because they don't have to face somebody face to face.
So that's a part of it. But on the social media, you have those circles where it's like, yes, everybody is sounding the yes horn, right? Like, they said yes, like, oh, I agree with you. It's an agreeable circle, and I had to get off. I definitely had to get off recently because of, as the election comes up, people just post some stupid shit, and it's like, why are you, does this really sit with you? Are you just memeing? Because people post some crazy memes, I guess, nowadays to get people riled up. But I feel that it's necessary, even if I agree with it, to be like, maybe this is a dissenting opinion. I think people block people that have dissenting opinions. Mom groups, the stuff that's in mom's groups gets so out of control with yeses, and I think it gets exacerbated, they'll go so deep, it's almost like they're one-upping each other, and it's they're like, oh, I use, let's say I use 1 drop of essential oil with, a teaspoon of coconut oil or something like that, and it smells great. Oh, I use 2 drops of coconut oil and a teaspoon, and that's just a weird, parallel story with that stuff. But I think that's what, people get into a little bit of competition with agreeing, and how much either disgust they can show towards something, or how much they agree with it, and then nobody's in there like, yeah, but there's another thought process behind there, and there's other things that show different things. And a lot of people like to say, well, this proves. A lot of people talking absolutes. Yeah, they're Siths. They're Sith lords. I'm a Sith, by the way, not a Jedi, right? I like the Sith powers, like the lightning. That's cool as shit, right? But nothing proves. Science is not a proof. Like math, you have proofs. You can do proofs, right? Science is not proof.
But
it is shown.
2 = 5.
Oh, bro, we can do 2 + 2 = 5. It's gonna take a little while to get there.
I don't really even know. I'm gonna be completely honest. I don't know anything really about that. I just see it on Twitter and people talk about it. And my initial instinct when I see it is, what kind of fuckery is this?
It's wizardry, bro. It's straight up wizardry. It's like, oh my god, they're casting spells on a blackboard or something.
Dude.
Casting spells. But that's, I was talking earlier, there's a continuum. I think philosophy 101 should be, in high school, philosophy needs to be started. Critical thinking needs to be.
There should be taxes should be taught. All basic finance, personal finance should be taught. I think they could eliminate a lot of things from high school, honestly, that are just pointless.
Oh, pointless.
But I think they should do personal finance. They should be having philosophy. They should be having I mean, just like, I think history needs to be revamped because the history that they teach is
Bro, guess where history comes from in America?
Where?
Guess Texas.
Oh,
What,
yeah, that's
Texas
right. That's right.
McGraw Hill's
McGraw,
up in Texas. Texas has what they put in the books gets changed a little bit, but for the most part, what Texas puts in those books gets sent out to the rest of America because McGraw Hill, and this is, I think, like, it's, I don't know, it's big, but we got the books here, and we get to say what's in the books. So all the other states, aside from California, I think California might have something else, but hey, man, Texas is making the history books right now. If you're in any kind of schooling, you know, we got your history already, Texas. I wanted to talk about this continuum. I think, like, people, you got a spectrum, you got this continuum, you got one side that's like extreme, the other side is extreme, you got the middle that's moderate, right? And this can go for anything. And the two sides of the extreme are kind of closer together than they are to the moderate. It's kind of crazy, even though they're far away. If you take this route, like the short route, they're kind of close because
so if you get red pilled, you just jump.
Yeah, you just jump. That's how it goes. Like, there's no. It's like all these people with the QAnon shit, right? They're like, oh,
I voted for Hillary, but now I'm voting for Trump.
Yeah, because he's saved. Trump's our savior. He's bringing pedophiles. There's no more adrenochrome. He's draining the swamp. All that shit.
Which,
you know?
I was listening to a podcast and they bring a good point, and it makes me want to say it too because I think it's really good. I was listening to Your Mom's House podcast and they were like, people that think that Donald Trump is a true Christian, are you out of your mind? And I agree. Do you really think that Donald Trump sits down every night, cracks open the Bible?
That dude didn't know what a Bible was till he walked out that church when he moved everybody.
I think he's a Christian like most people. Most people are not genuine Christians where they go to Easter service and then that's probably the only time they pray in a year. But I think it's about the same kind of Christian as that.
He needs to release his taxes so we can see how much he donates to church or how much he tithes.
What's his tithe?
What's his tithe? Does he do the 20%? Is it 20% or 15%?
But in his defense, that doesn't make him a bad person. I am not trying to attack Trump, contrary to what most people say. My only problems with Trump is that he is not a good person of character.
All right, I try not to talk politics. I actually hit a point of not caring, I guess. So, I think that Trump is a person. I think everybody needs to understand that he's a person, good or bad, whatever. He's the president. I think, he's driving the ship. Like, you should support him for the most part. The reason why I don't like Trump, like, if there's something that I can say negative about Trump, is that he is divisive and he's not a unifier. Like, the stuff he says, the stuff he tweets.
Okay, so
he doesn't unify.
I agree, and that's why I say I don't think he's a good person of character. Just because I don't think he's a bad guy. I don't think he genuinely do things bad to people, right?
Unless it's about money.
I think he would do shady stuff with money, like tax evasion, which all those people do anyway, so it doesn't even fucking matter. People want to say, we want to see your tax returns. Ask tax returns from Nancy Pelosi and all those other fucks too. They're going to have the same exact problems he has. So they can fuck off with all that. But my point is that when you look at what he's good at and what he's done well, it's good. It's good. But in terms of what he actually has done to unify people, it's not good. He's not president. He's not a good leader. But when you take him as a role of what he's done for the country, in general, I think that he hasn't done anything bad. But, you can't hate a man because that's the way he is. I just don't... I don't think that the way that media paints him is true. I don't think he's racist. Does he cater to people that might be racist? Yes. But do I think he's racist? No. I just think he doesn't give a fuck. And that's the truth. He doesn't give a fuck. That's the truth.
I'll agree with you on he doesn't care. Like he does not. He thinks about his interest, and I think that he thinks about winning and what he does to win or be better.
The only thing is, I think
that's something that he thinks about.
As an outside observer, my opinion is that the only reason, that's the reason why he won't unify, because everything is fueled by his ego. Mm-hmm. So would he rather everybody be unified and then people be kind of lukewarm about him? You're like, he's okay. Or would he rather cater to the people that are cultists for Trump and that are going to exonerate him and exalt him forever? He's going to cater to the people that are going to inflate his ego the most.
Oh, yeah.
So my opinion is that he does want to win, but his biggest issue as a person is his ego. And that's why I think he makes and says some of the stuff he does, is because it comes down to what's going to make his ego more inflated.
Yeah.
But you think about the way that he grew up and the environment he's been in, it's hard to fault the guy. When you grow up with that much money, you're out of touch with reality.
This is something I told you. Like, people are like, we were talking about Ruth Bader Ginsburg or whatever, about how that picture of her at the wedding, or whatever. Look, I don't think people understand that if you're making a certain amount of money or you're in a position of power in the United States, a high-level athlete, anything to that extent, you are on a different playing field than everybody else. You are. And people are like, why did Ruth Bader Ginsburg get to do that? Do the wedding. Those people probably connected. They're probably make a good amount of money, or they're family friends, or they're friends of a family friend. They know her personally. Guess what? I bet you all those people were tested for coronavirus before they got together. And if they were not wearing masks, that's why they were wearing masks. Like, Trump, I read somewhere that Trump is tested twice a day. I went back and after we talked, I went back and looked. He's tested at least one time a day. NBA players are tested before every game.
Yep.
I'm pretty sure they're tested one time a day. NFL players tested before every game. MLB players, pretty sure tested for every game. These people, if you're reading the news, you're not part of these people.
Yeah.
Unless you're reading economic news or stock market news. They're so far removed from our version of society that people can't fathom what they do. I think that's something that people need to understand, is that there's different societies within our societies. You can say culture groups, society, whatever. It's just that these people are.
Well, most people sit in the middle class or lower class.
Mm-hmm.
The people in the upper class, there's a clear distinction. And that's one thing that I said is one of the biggest problems in this country is Jeff Bezos. Not him in particular. He is an example of what's wrong with this country. And what I mean by that is Jeff Bezos only got richer during the pandemic. Okay? There's people whose names are not out there, who are not known to the public, who are in the same boat as him. He just so happens to be a public figure that has made all this money.
Amazon, bro.
Yeah. But there's people who are like him who have only gotten richer with everything that's going on. Do
you think he has a board? Amazon has to have a board, right?
I don't know how that works.
Well, who's on that board of Amazon? That's something that people should ask. How much money
and that's the thing.
Get
that's the thing. I think that most of the people that make the most money in the country that we do not know of, they are the people that are board members and stuff. They're the people that actually make decisions here. And people don't realize that. People think that Bill Gates and Jeff Bezos and all these people are the rich people, and Mark Zuckerberg. They're fucking nobody. There's people above them that, if people knew how rich these people were, that the world would melt, literally. It's like the Rothschilds. You don't hear about the Rothschilds because the whole family's wealth combined is more than anything in the world. But the way they keep it hidden is it's broken up between all the children. It doesn't mean that they're not as wealthy as they are, because they own so much fucking shit. It's ridiculous.
Yeah. This isn't a crazy conspiracy. This is like actual
this
stuff.
Is actual truth.
Yeah,
the same people who have owned stuff since
stuff.
the 1900s still own it. The only thing that they've done is they've dispersed it and made, that's what philanthropy was. You had these greedy pigs of people that hoarded all the wealth, and to make themselves look better, they got involved in philanthropy. Why do you think Jeff Epstein wasn't really looked on badly until he got caught? It was because he was involved in the same thing. All these rich people, they create an image for themselves that they're good people.
Yeah, it's an in-group too, right? Like I guess you can tie that back to bullying. That's an in-group, and you want to talk about bullying? That's bullying America. You're being bullied by the ultra wealthy.
It's the ruling class.
These people live a totally different life than you could fathom, and you cannot. Our minds cannot process those numbers. Like, I think that's a thing with coronavirus too. Whether it is 200,000 or something's gonna come out and say the numbers were off or whatever. 200,000. Let's just say yes, 200,000 people died of coronavirus or coronavirus complications. Right? They had comorbidities. Whatever. They died with coronavirus. I don't think people can fathom 200,000. That number 200,000. Seeing 200,000.
It's like the same thing like a billion.
Or 200,000 people.
$1 billion is so hard to comprehend. And then I remember watching a stream online of this guy who he made a lot of money on stocks, but he played video games. And he was like, I want to show you guys exactly how much a billion is. And he wrote out $1 million and then copied and pasted it. And then he's like, you could buy all your friends a Lamborghini. And you erase 10 of them. And then you could scroll through the list. You won't even know money's missing.
Yeah.
You would have no idea money's missing. That's how much a billion is. Just do it for yourself. If you want to know how much $1 billion is, put out 1,000, a million values. A million 1,000 times, and then deduct $1 million however many times, buy a house here, buy a house in Miami, buy a house wherever, and you wouldn't even know you're missing money.
Yeah.
And like, it's so hard to comprehend. It's like space. It's something that you don't have a way to actually see. But like, just thinking about it, it hurts your head, because you're like, how is that even possible?
All right, and then you're generating more wealth on top of that, because you don't have the $1 billion in a bank account. You have investments. You have people making money for you.
You have startups that are gonna blow up.
Yeah.
And it's actually gotten crazier for people to get rich now, because you just invest in startups, you lose 50 grand because one busted. But then on the same token that you blew 50 grand, you've invested 100 into Uber when it first came out. And then guess what? You're a majority shareholder.
Shoot,
it goes public, you sell it. What the fuck?
Yeah, Tesla, that would have been great. Not now. That's down like 100 some odd dollars, 100 some odd points. That went down quick.
It'll bounce back up.
It's overvalued. However,
Elon Musk has the AIs figuring out how to maximize profits. He might have a Neuralink in right now, and he's figuring out how to fix everything.
I will sign up for that first Neuralink. I don't even care. Like, I'm down. I'm already down for the Neuralink. Like, I'm gonna be bionic. I don't care. I would love to have the Neuralink, and I think if Jeff Bezos did what Elon Musk does, the world would be a better place. I think that because
I think that shift, like, with someone with how much money he has, put that much into advancement of technology and really forcing, because he would have a more business approach, where I think like Elon thoroughly does enjoy like, innovation and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
I think Jeff at the end of the day would be push it in another direction, and then it would force the world to literally like a revolution.
Yeah, I think, well, I don't know about revolution. I think
the technology revolution.
Yeah. I think the technology revolution would come pretty quick. I think if we start merging ourselves with technology more than just having the phone in our hand, tablet or computer or whatever, I think you reach that singularity point quicker. But I think that's our next phase. Coming to a little bit back to bullying, kind of, but watching my daughter grow up and then seeing events around me, I think human nature in itself is destructive. Like nature, you were talking about, it's natural, it's nature, right? So
I don't think it's destructive. I think that we're not in tune with nature.
Well,
therefore, it makes us destructive.
I think man is destructive on their own. Look, I mean, especially in the way there are other cultures, and this is where nurture would come through. I think that are more in tune with nature, had used nature to build things.
It would just be cyclical. It would be you give and take.
Right, but now we use. We take, and I think that's, I hate saying it's all capitalism, but for the most part, that's just how we're always looking for the next best thing. We're always trying to build better or go to something bigger, I guess. Like you don't, unless you're downsizing, right? I guess like you're going to buy a house. You're not going to buy a cheaper house. You're not going to buy unless you in a monetary confinement, you're not going to buy a refrigerator or a TV that's like worse than your last TV, right? Mm-hmm. You're going to, I had a 60-inch TV. I'm going to get a 65-inch. It was 1080p. This one's going to be 4K. I'm not going to go backwards, and I'm not going to stay the same if I have to buy something new, But
psychedelics break that.
No, dude, I still love.
It doesn't matter. When you melt away the reality we live in and the dimension we live in, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, but you have to come back to reality. You have to come.
What
back
if you
to
just
reality.
never live in reality?
I don't know, dude. I don't know how that would because then you're going to be locked up in a mental institution, But we as humans are destructive, and I learned this from looking at my toddler, because I can clean something
and then
I can have it. Oh my god, they're gonna come by and just be like, boof! I gave her my phone. She threw my phone on the ground. Because we don't understand how precious things are, I think, and I don't think the vast majority of people are thinking how precious life is, and or like what gift the world is to us. Yeah. Whatever you believe in, like we are destroying whatever gift we were given to experience all this because we're destructive. And that's our nature.
In the name of what though? It's like in the name of pleasure, in the name of.
I think it is ignorance. We don't know. Again, we don't know what we have, what we're witnessing.
It's like the idea though also of like discipline. We're not disciplined as a people either, because if you think about it, discipline is freedom, right? If you understand that having all these materialistic items, or it's like the idea of like I used to always hate the idea of being like nutrition and stuff like that, because like I just want to enjoy myself, but the undisciplinedness destroys my body.
And that comes down to like, I think again, like not knowing like, hey, I can choose this path, and this path might be harder. I might have to have discipline, and I'm bringing awareness to what I need, instead of like, oh shit, dude, I'm hungry. Here's a McDonald's. Let's do this.
Or
two Big Mac.
Make some chicken and rice.
Yeah.
But I don't mean to cut. We gotta start wrapping up here. But on a not serious topic, is there something you want to talk about as we close that's not so serious?
Not so serious.
Anything interesting? Anything?
Man, look up. I want a one wheel so bad. It's like a skateboard. It's so awesome. I want a one wheel so bad. That's my next
How much is a one wheel?
You get like there's one that's like under $1,000, and then there's the XR or whatever that's like right at $2K.
Dude, that's so expensive.
It's expensive, but again, I have the discipline to save. They're so fun. That's what I want. Also, all my triathlons have been canceled, so that sucks.
Yeah,
but I'm still training.
$1,000?
Yeah, dude.
Fuck that.
Yeah. That's where it's at, though. I'm gonna write that area. You go 20 miles per hour. It's like
Really?
It's like the closest thing on a hoverboard, dude. That's the future. Then you get the Neuralink connected to that, and you can control it with your mind, bro.
Dude. Holy shit. Then you just close your eyes and you don't even have to.
Yeah, you don't even know what's happening. Like, you can see.
It's just GPS carrying you. Like,
yeah.
He's like, I want to go to Starbucks. Then.
One wheel away. Yeah, that's my next shout out to Future Motion. Do we do shout outs on this thing?
I doubt they'll ever listen to it unless someone shares it with someone that knows them or something.
Yeah, that's where it's at. I want one so bad. My brother-in-law, my friend have one, and I wrote it, and I was like, yeah, this is my life now.
Future Motion, sponsor the podcast. Hook it up with a one wheel. We'll give you shout outs.
I will make videos on it. There's some good videos out there on people do some crazy stuff on those things.
If you've never seen a one wheel, look it up. If you've never heard of it, it is pretty wild. I've actually seen some people use it before, but I've never been on it myself. I feel like I may not be balanced enough to actually do it.
It helps to have a boarding background, a skateboard background, or like snowboard, surf, something like that. You do need some balance.
So I feel like if I did it, I would definitely eat shit.
Yeah, a lot of people, you can find a lot of used ones because a lot of people buy it and nosedive real quick because they don't understand how balance works, or they get going too fast and then they break their collarbone because they also they don't fall a lot, so they don't know how to like roll out or anything. That's it. But that's the positive note. I guess we didn't stick with the Louisville stuff, the Breanna Taylor, which is a sad thing. But I think that if people disconnect from social media and read multiple articles and wait instead of jumping on stuff, we get the full picture. But that is.
I mean, yeah, and on that is like. I also think that there needs to be a lot of changes. Like, there needs to be more funding for police, but there also need to be changes on the way that things are done. Mm-hmm. Government, especially, and including like people of power, have a really bad habit of getting up to date on things really slowly. Example, people want to talk about Russia hacking. The election,
talked about that.
But social dilemma, that's an example of Russia didn't hack. They used the resource that was available to them.
Oh, they hacked.
It was open. It was not hacking. It was available to them. And Facebook did nothing to prevent it or foresee it. And it just shows an example that the people in power and in government don't have eyes everywhere and oftentimes are slow to react. There has to be something that shows them, holy shit, we can't let stuff like this happen. So, in the same thing, I think that happens in every situation, revolving police or technology or the government. It's unfortunate that it has to be like that. I wish we would rely on smart people who warn us before stuff happens, but we don't.
I think on that, if America was an uncolonized country, or we didn't have Air Force or something to say like there's an airplane in our general vicinity, radar, it's the same as Russia and China dropping pamphlets saying like Trump is God, or saying Trump is better for you. If we're saying that they hacked the election to push an agenda, and that's exactly what they did. And it's not hacking. Nobody hacked anything. It's they got you because you are gullible enough to look at propaganda and be like, oh, I agree with that propaganda there.
Why do you think QAnon got so popular? Probably was Russia pumping it up with money. And then you have China propping up the Democratic Party.
I think there's multiple reasons why QAnon got popular, but
that's for another 10.
Yeah, you people, that's complete stupidness in my opinion. But yeah, next Thursday, hopefully. It's been great. I'm sorry that I went back to a little negative thing. Check it out. Check it out.
It's all right.
I think it's fun. There's so much that we talk about, and I really love our conversations and enjoy them thoroughly, and I'm glad we get to spend time.
Well, thanks for listening. I didn't say this at the beginning, but if you happen to make it all the way to the end of the podcast, if you're listening on YouTube or on any of the streaming platforms, follow, subscribe, like, rate, or comment. Maybe let me know what some things you want to hear talked about. And thanks for listening. Till next time. See ya.